Hey y'all,
Hi, everybody.
I'm Zakia,
And I'm Georgette,
and this is MADE.
Mother and Daughter Empowerment.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode.
Hi, everybody.
Today we are talking about how we are made to connect. So social media is a girl's world.
It's a girl's world.
I think so.
For sure.
I mean, so let's talk about this.
Let's talk about it.
Women are thought to be social creatures. Like, we crave connection and conversation. It's why little girls are always the ones getting in trouble for talking too much in class and things like that, right?
And in relationships, guys are pretty quiet, you know what I mean? And women are just like going, a man can say what he has to say in two words and he's over it.
Exactly. And okay, so I've done a little bit of research.
A little bit?
I have a fun fact. I have a nugget to drop on y'all. So, a study was done in 2019 by Statista, and that study showed that 78% of women report using social media. And that's in comparison to only 65% of men.
Come on, guys, you got to get your weight up. Falling way behind. Yeah, and so, again, it stands to reason because we are the ones that are always communicating and craving conversations and things like that.
Right.
There was another study done in 2021 by Hootsuite, which said that 56% of girls and women between the ages of 16 and 24 conduct all of their brand research on social media.
And let me tell you something. I believe that because I do some brand research on social media. If you don't have good social media or a social media presence, I'm like, I don't think so. But we'll talk about that later.
Right. Social media it's a great thing. Now, it can be good and bad.
Sure.
You have to understand social media. There are things out there and people out there that mean, good. So you have to be able to decipher and have a certain level of discernment about the information that you glean from social media. But there are lots of positive and good things about social media.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the good things is that social media provides women ways of finding support, encouragement and connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that for me, it has been, and not just for me, but for many people, and I think women especially, during this pandemic over the last year, when we were unable to go out and socialize, you couldn't go to a happy hour and you couldn't go meet your girlfriends for dinner or, anything like that, but you still wanted to connect. And there were lots of ways to do that on social media, right? So if you like, blue pillows, there's a group for that, on social media. If you like dogs, there's a group for that. If you like giraffes, there's a group for that. I mean, there's a group for everything. So you can find your tribe, if you will, on social media, and you can remain engaged. And it's a way to find, support and motivation, especially, like I said, during some of those dark times when we were kind of isolated.
Mm-hmm.
Another way I know for me that I've used it is through my breast cancer journey.
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to find many, avenues, many groups for support on social media. Yeah. So they have them on Facebook. They have them on Clubhouse. They have them on Instagram. Just all of the platforms I pretty much have. Even LinkedIn, I've gotten lots of information and articles from there about breast cancer research and nutrition and, just living with breast cancer. And so it provided a great means of support to kind of validate, my feelings or thoughts or to gain information when I was confused about something that was going on. And so it does provide a great way to to foster relationships across the mile. So you can be talking to someone across the country or in another country and, and have a great conversation as though they were sitting right next to you.
Yeah, I definitely have found my tribe, so to speak, and found ways of connecting with other women and connecting in general through social media in the past. I know for me, it started it started a while ago. I think probably my first experience of like really finding community through social media was in college, when I was starting my natural hair journey. And I went to YouTube. Like, YouTube was my Bible when it came to natural hair, because I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
And there were so many women on there who either had already been doing it for a while and kind of had tips and tricks, or who were going through it and could kind of be like, look, I used that product and it was a fail too, or whatever. So I think that's probably my first experience. But again, talking about connection in general, if you listen to last month's podcast, then you'll know that I met my fiance and future husband through social media. He slid in my DMs. So yeah, I think it definitely provides those avenues for support, encouragement, and connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is not just personal connections, but professional connections as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know that my employer utilizes social media as part of the recruiting process. So we post jobs, we talk about job fairs that are coming up, we list openings, things like that on social media. But we also use it to help us narrow down our applicant pool. Because, whether you know it or not, and whether they share this with you or not, most employers now do a search on social media of potential applicants or potential employees. And so it's also very important that you have a personal social media presence and a professional social media presence if there is reason to have them separate. Now, I personally just have one of everything. I tried initially to keep things separate, and it was too much to manage. And so I decided, what am I trying to keep people that I work with from seeing my private life? I'm not doing anything in my personal life that I would be embarrassed for them to know. So I have it all in one. But if you do things that you think would be less acceptable in some way to a potential employer, then you might want to think twice about having it out there, and certainly having it out there under your real name. So you might have an alias account where you put your personal things, and also learn about, and I'm still learning about all of this stuff, but also learn about the privacy options and things like that, because there are ways that you can lock down on some of these platforms. I believe you can lock down either portions of your account, like your photos or videos or something like that, or make people request access, so that it's not easily accessible to everybody. So then you get to decide, who gets to see what. So if you feel like you need to kind of clean something up before you allow someone access, you can do that. But also remember that it's never completely gone.
Yeah.
Someone with the right access and the right tools can always find anything that has ever been, on the internet.
Yeah, and I think we'd be remiss to talk about connection on social media, especially when it comes to women, for two specific age groups. Like I'd say, my young ladies, if there are any young ladies that are watching, middle school, maybe even elementary school age and high school, and also my older ladies who aren't as comfortable using social media, is to just always be wary, because there are people out here who are using connection and community as a way to prey on those who don't know. So I just want to say that too. I don't think we really plan to talk about that, but I think we'd be remiss to not mention that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult sometimes, because when you're on social media or when you're on the internet in general, people tend to feel like they're invisible. And so they feel like they can kind of say or do anything. They can hide behind, an avatar, or they can hide behind, some moniker that they're using on social media, and nobody can connect them to it, but they can. And for our young people, like Zakia said, you have to, again, going back to the mother-daughter perspective, or the, parent-child's perspective, as a parent, you need to monitor your children's social media. I know we want to give kids their privacy, we want to give them their independence, but you still need to monitor those things, because as smart as they are and as tech savvy as they are, there are people out here that know exactly how to manipulate them. That's why we have such a problem in this country with child trafficking and things like that. And these are teenagers who they've grown up as digital natives, and they know the internet, and they know how to use stuff, and they still get duped and tricked into meeting people or giving up personal information, or access to their information or their parents' information. So, as a parent, I would say, make sure you know what social media platforms your children are on. You don't have to be a stalker, you don't have to be a major presence, but you want to kind of know so that you can help them navigate that and learn. They're going to make mistakes, but help them learn from those mistakes so that they can be responsible digital citizens when they're on social media.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it goes both ways. So for my ladies who did not grow up with social media in the same way, ask someone who's younger and who is more experienced or who understands some of these things better, because it's definitely a way to take advantage of people who don't know. That being said, I also think social media is also a great avenue for businesses, and it provides a lower barrier to entry for women-owned businesses.
Absolutely. It's a lot harder for women to take advantage of grants and other funding opportunities in the traditional sense, a lot of times. And so social media now, there are people that never spend $1 on advertising or marketing or whatever, and they get a video to go viral and end up with a TV show or end up with a sponsorship from a major sponsor simply because they mention their product and they're an influencer on social media and they have a following. And so Coca-Cola or whoever it is sees that they have this huge following, and that's a way for them to reach all of their followers. And so it can be monetized, and it can be a great way for not just women but anyone, honestly, to be able to launch a business. I know for a fact I can think of several people that were on TikTok actually that now have television shows or book deals or major sponsorships. One who actually just won I think an Emmy or an Oscar or something. But yeah, so it's a great way if you're intentional, and if that is your desire. It's a great way to start a business without having to put in some of the same work and effort and energies that you would during the traditional ways that you would go about starting a business.
Right, and we've got to see that firsthand, right? Because we were able to start our business through social media. I mean, and it may have taken us longer. It may have been more difficult. We may not be where we are right now with Made if we would not have had social media. We would have had to go the traditional routes of trying to get funding to open a storefront or something like that. So I think we're a perfect example of how that works.
Absolutely. It costed us nothing to start our podcast. Everything associated with that was free. All of the art that we have done ourselves or whatever, we've used the free resources. Now, there are paid parts of the resources that we've used, but we've utilized the free aspects of those resources to create materials and and so we haven't had to have a major investment in order to get this going. And the hope is that someone will pick up on it at some point and keep us from having to make even any investment at all, because we'll get, sponsorships and followerships and things like that will allow us to monetize that. Now, that's not our total purpose for doing this, but it is a bonus that you can get and realize as a result of just being on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, and social media is addicting, right?
Yes.
I was someone who I never thought I would be somebody who would be addicted to any social media. And I don't know that I'm addicted per se, but what I will say is that, and that's the pot calling the kettle black.
It is.
We'll talk about that in just a minute.
I claim my addiction.
But, because as long as I don't get on certain platforms, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. But if I get on Pinterest, I'm going to be there for a couple of hours. If I get on TikTok, I'm going to be on it for a couple of hours. I mean, guaranteed. And the same thing with Facebook. I primarily use Facebook. Of course, when our generation started figuring out Facebook and using it, the little youngsters had to go find something else. They went over to Instagram. Now, I'm not as comfortable with Instagram, but I'm learning. We'll be there soon too. But it is addicting. There's just so much information, and I am an information junkie. I just love to to learn and see what other people are doing and stuff like that. So, and just to see all the possibilities. I mean, it's just really incredible, the things that, that people are doing out there on social media, things that I dream of doing myself, but don't have the patience or motivation to do, or just seeing the kinds of creative things that people come up with, that they put on these social media platforms. So yeah, I can get on TikTok and scroll for hours. And actually, you can follow me on TikTok. I am pretty TikTok famous. I think I've got almost 100 followers now. So
all right,
y'all better get in.
That was wonderful. No, but yeah, I mean, like you said, pot calling the kettle black. I mean, and I know very well that my phone in general is almost like an addiction, itself. But yeah, Instagram and Pinterest are my people say like my drug of choice. Like, Instagram,
the platform of choice.
Yeah, those are my platforms of choice. And I was just talking about this recently with my mom and my best friend. Like, sometimes I'll find myself, just because I'm bored or uninterested in whatever I'm doing, just like picking up my phone and pulling up Instagram and just scrolling a little bit and putting it down. And it's like, what was that even for? Like, I didn't even realize that I was doing it. But I'm just so used to being on there and having that information, like you're saying, come in. And I think it's interesting how information gathering, I guess, has changed too because of social media, because that's something else I can say is kind of a difference, I think, generationally, at least within our family. Is like my mom and my stepdad, like, they watch the news. They'll watch the news to get weather or to know the latest current events happening. And not to say that I never watch the news, but I pretty much know everything that's going on through social media. Like, I pretty much know, and I have apps on my phone for some of the stuff that's not social media, like weather or whatever, so I get those sort of alerts. So, even stuff like that, like, it's a different way of gathering information, and that can become even addicting, to just know that, well, let me just see what's going on. Let me see the latest update. Like, a lot of stuff that's going on, even if I do find out about it some other way, I'll go on Instagram and search it. Yeah. I'll go to the Shade Room and see what they said about it, because that's just where I'm comfortable getting information from. I don't know. So yeah.
And everybody's using social media or using technology now. I know even in our church, our pastor encourages people to download the Bible app. And, that used to be taboo. Like, if you didn't bring your Bible and your Bible didn't have pages that were dog-eared and the leather cover wasn't worn or whatever, you just weren't a good Christian or something. But now, in our church, we have screens where they project the words to the song, and they project the main points of the sermon. And, they put the scripture up on the screen. You use your Bible app. And so we've all become addicted in some way to our technology. There was a time when I would leave my phone at home and it wasn't a big deal because, nobody called me except for my husband and my daughters. But now I panic because, if I leave my phone or I don't know where it's at, or I think I left it in a store or something, it sends a sense of panic because my whole life is connected to my phone.
Right.
Like, I don't know people's phone numbers. I just touch their picture or choose their name and it dials. The information was put in there sometimes years ago. So I don't know people's phone numbers. I don't know my schedule. My calendar is on there. So I don't know where I'm supposed to be and when I'm supposed to be there if I don't have my technology. And like I said, employers are using it. We do a lot of, my professional organizations do a lot of professional development online. They do a lot of teasing of events and reminders about meetings and things like that through social media. So it's become kind of a staple, I think, in our lives in a lot of different ways.
Definitely. And so just to go back to the point that we were making earlier, I think the statistic that you shared about women conducting brand research.
16 to 24, yeah.
On social media. And like I said, that's something that's really important for me. If there is a new restaurant or, clothing brand or whatever, like, I always go to my social media, mainly Instagram, and give it a search and find their handle and go to their profile and see what it looks like. And that will tell me a lot. And I mean, a lot of times it's accurate. Sometimes it can be inaccurate. Sometimes there's a great restaurant that doesn't have social media presence, for sure. But a lot of times there's so much information that you glean from social media that can really help you make better decisions. So like for me, if I'm going to a restaurant, I want it to be aesthetically pleasing. You know, if I'm going to brunch, like I want a cute vibe, I want cute decor, I want my food to be cute, you know, and businesses can convey that information through social media. And consumers can make, can make choices off of that social media too, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's created a whole nother way to promote businesses or whatever, because if I want, like, for instance, if I travel to a new city, I know I'm going somewhere, I might reach out on social media, on any one of them, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and say, hey, you know, headed to Houston, what are the best restaurants to check out?
Or find a hashtag, you know, Houston restaurants, or, you know, things like that too.
And so, you know, people connect that away. And then, you know, again, you have to take it all with a grain of salt, because it's individual, you know, perspectives or whatever. But, you know, if a lot of people are saying the same thing, you can pretty much believe it's true. Now, one or two people may have a bad experience somewhere, whatever. And conversely, if all the feedback is negative, then it may be something that you want to take into consideration, you know, before you know, take a chance and risk it. But there are lots of little known brands. It's been great for minority businesses to get a presence. You know, I know that there are lots of Black designers that we both follow now that are little known, but they're up and coming. And they were, you know, they got their start because of social media. You know, that's how they got their footing.
Well, and a lot that are based solely in social media, you know, their products aren't in stores or anything like that. But even though they're small companies, you know, they're not in these stores, they get all of their business through social media. So I think maybe what we'll do is, if you go to our Instagram, go to our Facebook, go to our Twitter, we will create a graphic, or we'll post a graphic that highlights some of our favorite social media based businesses and organizations and things like that, so that we can share that with you, and you can share back with us some of your favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zakia actually has an Instagram page where she reviews and shares her thoughts and experiences with Black-owned products. So it could be beauty products, it could be fashion apparel, hair products, you know, it could be any number of things. And she reviews them. It's something that she has purchased. It's a Black-owned business. She tries it. And then she gives you a review, and she rates it or whatever. So again, it's kind of another way to kind of share information with each other in a rapid way without somebody having to invest a lot of their time, energy, and effort. So somebody else has done all of the legwork for you. And that's Biashara.
Yep, you can find that at Biashara on Instagram, my favorite.
Instagram, her favorite.
Well, thank you for joining this conversation.
#thank you.
And like we said, let us know your thoughts about social media. How have you interacted with social media? Like we said, share your favorite social media businesses and organizations, especially those that are for women or people of color. And let's keep the conversation going.
Let's keep it going.
All right. Well, we will see y'all next month.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.